Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another Ohio State Parks and Watercraft virtual open house. I'd like to start off by introducing myself. I'm Brian Miller. I am the Southwest District Manager for Ohio State Parks and Watercraft, and I provide oversight to 14 state parks in Southwest Ohio. Also joining me today to assist with this presentation are Sean and Catherine Connor. They're both naturalists for us in the Southwest District, and Catherine's going to be helping with the Q&A today. With that, if you do have any questions, being this is a live event, please post those on the right-hand side of your screen, and we'll do our best to answer those questions after everybody's presentations today. In the Southwest, we offer many different parks with many different amenities, but today we're going to showcase John Bryan near Yellow Springs and Buck Creek near Springfield. At this time, I introduce the park manager of both John Bryan and Buck Creek, John Lewis, who's been with us for approximately 30 years.
Thanks, Brian. First of all, I'd like to thank our amazing staff. These are the individuals that you see when you first come to the park. They're the heart and soul of the park. They're the ones that keep you safe. They're the first faces you meet when you come to the park, and they're the ones that keep the park clean and running smoothly. So they really don't understand how much we really appreciate them, but we really do. As Brian said, my name's John Lewis. I have the pleasure of serving you for 29 years, and I'm currently the manager of Buck Creek State Park and John Bryan State Park. First, we'll have a quick overview of Buck Creek. We're going to look at the stars on the map. Going from left to right, you have the Army Corps of Engineers, you have the beach area, you have the marina area, you have the disc golf area, the cabins, and then finally the campground. Speaking of the campground, we have a beautiful 111 campsites, which is a great mix of electric and non-electric campsites. And within the campground, we have many amenities. Some of them that we offer is we have a great camp store where you can buy firewood, ice, or any other like camp trinkets or camping supplies that you might need. We also have a brand new horseshoe pit, a shuffleboard court. We rent out little bicycles. We have a really wonderful amphitheater, which the naturalist puts on programs, and also we show movies on Friday and Saturday nights. We have a lot of events that are held here at Buck Creek. We have anything from a triathlon to weddings, but an event that's near and dear to my heart is our fall camp out. It's held the first 2 weekends of every October. Things that we do at these campground or at these Halloween or fall events is we have hay wagon rides, trick or treat, scavenger hunt, costume contests, scary movies, site decorations, and much more. You know, this is put on primarily by the park staff and volunteers. We'll talk about our cabins for a while. We have 25 cabins. 13 of them have recently been renovated. Some of the things we have in the cabins, they have 2 bedrooms. One bedroom has a full-size bed. The other one has a bunk bed with a twin on the bottom and another twin in the room. They all have a full bathroom with a shower and a toilet. They have a full kitchen with stove, microwave, coffee pot. The living room has a couch with a chair and TVs. Some of them have fireplaces. They all have a screened-in back porch. They all have a fire pit, picnic tables, and a charcoal grill on the outside. We also offer a friendly, pet-friendly cabin along with 2 ADA cabins. If you're interested in staying at our campground or in our cabins, just go to reserveohio.com or call 1-866-644-6727, And when you're looking at the cabins, just make sure you look at the description, because some of the cabins are a little different than the other. They don't all have fireplaces, so that sometimes the amenities are a little bit different. We offer 2 beaches here at Buck Creek. The first beach is our Campground Beach, which is a small, intimate little beach that's located in the campground. This is for campers and cabin guests only. Our second beach is what we call our main beach. It's a large 2,400-foot beach located at the front of the park. The main beach is free to anyone that wants to come. It has bathrooms and changing booths. The last thing I'm going to talk about today will be our picnic areas. We have picnic areas throughout the park, but our 2 most popular are the Oak Grove and the Hickory Knoll. They both come with a shelter house, and you can use the same reservation system that you use for camping and for cabins to rent these out. I will talk to you later, and hopefully we'll see you out here at the park.
Thank you, John. I really appreciate taking a time to talk to us a little bit about the history and start of the park. And to dive in more into that history, we have invited a partner from the Army Corps of Engineers, Specialist Bryan.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Bryan Minker. I'm a natural resources specialist park ranger with the Army Corps of Engineers. And I've worked here for 22 years now, so know a little bit about it. The Corps of Engineers is a big federal agency that does a lot of things. And on the map here, you have a little diagram of what we call the Great Lakes and Ohio River Division, which includes the drainage areas of the Ohio River and the Great Lakes. Of course, we are in the Ohio River drainage here. My lake is part of the Louisville district, and so you see in Ohio, it's just that southwest corner. We have 3 lakes there. We also operate 8 lakes in Kentucky and another 5 in Indiana, plus all of the locks on the Ohio River from basically Cincinnati down to the end. Those are some of the other missions that the Corps of Engineers does. In our area, the lakes were originally built primarily to help control flooding. So when you see the picture here that you're looking at is the very beginning of building the dam. So the dams are built first with the outlet. So what you see there is the control tower, which connects to what we call the conduit, essentially a pipe that goes underneath the dam. And we control the outflow by large gates in the base of that tower that let the water out. That picture there, they broke ground in 1966. A lot of the area around this part of the world in Ohio, we had flooding issues. The big one that everybody remembers is 1913. I'm from Dayton originally, and everybody hears about the Great Dayton Flood, but a lot of places around here flooded: Cincinnati, Columbus, Hamilton, and there were a few other floods that affected Springfield after that, notably 1929 and 1959. So it was after the 1959 flood that affected Buck Creek and the Mad River there in Springfield that it was decided to try to build a flood control reservoir, which became the C.J. Brown Reservoir. C.J. Brown, that stands for Clarence J. Brown. He was a congressman that represented this area for a long time. He actually passed away just before the dam construction was started, and his son, Clarence J. Brown, they call it Bud Brown Jr., was also represented this area for many, many years. So that was the main reason that the lake was begun. If you see here the construction, it shows a couple stages there. On the left, you see Buck Creek was rerouted into the control tower, and they were building the embankment. It's basically earth and rock. with a clay core. You can kind of see the clay core on the left-hand picture. That's that lighter brown right down the middle. That type of earthen dam is what was built a lot in this area. And on the right, you can kind of see it's basically finished. They've cleared all of the trees and everything out of the reservoir area, and they closed the gates to start filling the lake in 1973. The dam itself is a large V shape. It's about 6,000 feet long and 72 feet high. It's a lot of earth, and most of the dirt there, they had to relocate a railroad, and they had to make a big cut through a hillside to create an overflow spillway. So most of the material for the dam was excavated from those two areas. The Buck Creek, which is what the lake impounds, is a tributary of the Mad River, which then flows into the Great Miami in Dayton there. It also, the Mad River is re-regulated by one of the Miami Conservancy dams called the Huffman Dam near Wright-Patterson. So we kind of help with the local area and part of the Mad, and then the Huffman Dam also helps control flooding on the Mad. So besides flood control, recreation is another aspect to the park. The pictures you see here on the left was the beach area right at the beginning of the park construction. You can kind of see the sidewalk there, and the lake wasn't there yet, but they were working on grading out the beach. The picture on the right's an aerial photo from 2011, just showing what it looks like now. And that's the main beach that John spoke of right near the front of the park. That's over 2,000 feet long. The other parts of the park have recreation. These are some historical pictures of the boat ramp. The picture on the left was the original boat ramp before the lake was impounded. That picture is from, I believe, 1974, just before the lake was filled. And then in the middle picture, you can see the 1976 4th of July weekend when lots of people were down using the brand new lake and the ramp. And the aerial picture on the right again is from 2011. That's the redesigned boat ramp that was redone in 2005. And so it's a much bigger, nicer ramp with big docks, and it's a very nice facility now. There are other recreational opportunities in the state park, but at the Corps of Engineers area, this is a picture of our visitor center right at the other end of the dam. You can see we have 3 picnic areas that have reservable picnic shelters. The one in this picture that's just downhill is called the Lakeview Recreation Area. We also have one called Prairie View as you come in that has a playground next to the shelter, and the Meadow View shelter on top of the hill. Those are all reservable. Those are reservable through the federal system, which is recreation.gov, and they have if you search for CJ Brown on that recreation.gov site, you can find those shelters. They're very popular shelters, reserved quite a bit during the summer. We have some displays, there's restrooms, we have a front desk there with maps and questions that you can get answered at the visitor center. It's open 7 days a week during the recreation season. During the off season, it's just 5 days a week. And the website for the lake itself for the Corps of Engineers is listed on this slide here. It's very long, but the Corps of Engineers main Louisville page, lrl.usace.army.mil. If you go to that, you can navigate to it, and the phone number there. We also have a Facebook page. It's facebook.com CJ Brown USACE. And I'd like to thank you, and if you have any questions, I'll be here at the end.
Thank you so much, Brian. We appreciate you taking some time to talk to us a little bit about our dam and the work that the Army Corps does. I do want to touch on some more recreations. I know you mentioned a few, but we've invited our Natural Resources Officer, Kent, to talk a little bit more about some different opportunities within the parks.
As Catherine said, I am Emily Kent. I am the Natural Resource Officer over at Buck Creek State Park. I patrol and respond to Buck Creek State Park as well as some surrounding areas, including some rivers, state nature preserves, Lake Loramie State Park and Grand Lake St. Mary's, but mostly I'm going to be here at Buck Creek State Park. I graduated from the most recent academy class of natural resource officers and have been out in the field since July of last year. The role of a natural resource officer is to provide safety and security to our guests, visitors, and our facilities at the park. So if you are needing to get a hold of an officer, just call pound ODNR. First, I'm going to go ahead and talk about trails. We offer over 13 miles of trails here at Buck Creek State Park, 4 of them being hiking trails and 8 of them being equestrian trails. We do have a 1 mile trail that is a multi-purpose trail that kind of connects Buck Creek State Park to C.J. Brown and City Park nearby as well. And then I also wanted to announce that we have a brand new trail here at Buck Creek State Park, and it is ADA accessible. It's called the Coyote Run Trail. It's about a mile long as well, and it's completely paved, and it has benches throughout the entire trail as well. Buck Creek also has a 18-hole disc golf course. It varies in terrain and is good for a variety of skill levels. We do host, on occasion, multiple tournaments that are here throughout every year. We also have hunting at Buck Creek State Park in permitted designated areas. We have a controlled deer hunt that occurs annually, and applications are available in July as well for a deaf-blind lottery. The Division of Wildlife has come out with an awesome new app for your phone, and you can look up any kind of hunting questions that you might have on that as well. Buck Creek is a 2,120 acre lake with unlimited horsepower. We have a modern six lane boat ramp as well. There's a lot of different kind of boating that occurs on the lake. There's kayaks, canoes, pontoons, john boats. So there's a pretty decent variety of boating that you'll see out there. For anybody who's looking to get their Ohio boating license, we do offer a home study and test packet that you can pick up here at the office. So you just pick it up at the office, take it home, complete the test, and you can bring it back, and the office staff or the officer on duty can grade it for you and send it in. For those that don't want to trailer your boat back and forth all throughout the season, we do offer 186 seasonal boat slips for rent. The marina is currently operated by a food and concessions vendor, and they also offer daily dock rentals, gas, a variety of bait and tackle as well. And then just as a reminder, as boat season is approaching, boat registrations expire on March 1st of every year, and the office staff here at Buck Creek State Park can take care of any registration needs that you guys are needing. So that's it.
Thank you, Officer Kent, for that look at some of the different varieties of recreational opportunities here at Buck Creek. One of the most popular ones, though, has to be fishing. I know over at the marina is a really great spot for folks to get to cast a line in. we'd like to talk a little bit more about what's happening under the water, and for that we have our fisheries biologist, Justin.
Hello, my name is Justin Walters. I'm one of 3 fish biologists here in Southwest Ohio. The Ohio Division of Wildlife samples game fish on public waters across the state. We use this data to inform stocking decisions and fishing regulations. We sample black bass starting in the spring using an electrofishing boat when the fish are near the shore preparing to spawn. Surveys at CJ show a good population of largemouth bass. It also has the best population of smallmouth bass out of any lake in Southwest Ohio. Crappie and bluegill are sampled in the fall with trap nets while they are gathering close to the bank. This type of net is basically a giant minnow trap with a lead attached to the bank. The crappie population of CJ is made up of both white and black crappie. Crappie growth rates are about average for the district. The bluegill size and numbers are well above average for the district at CJ Brown. Channel catfish populations are sampled using baited hoop nets in the summer. The catfish population of CJ Browns is dominated with channel catfish along with some bullhead. The fishery has a good population and the catch rates are about average for the district. Walleye are sampled in the late fall using monofilament gill nets. CJ Brown is the only lake in Southwest Ohio with walleye. CJ has a 15-inch 6-fish bag limit. The length limit is intended to protect the walleye from harvest until age 2 to increase the sizes of the fish caught and kept by anglers. Walleye year classes have improved in the last several years. Anglers should begin to notice more keeper fish while they're out on the lake. CJ Brown has an excellent population of white bass as well. These hard fighting fish can be caught in the lake and also in the spring off Moorfield Road during their annual spawning run. A new addition to the lake is musky. They have been stocked annually since 2018 with excellent survival and growth rates. Fish over 30 inches long are starting to be caught by anglers. Our reservoirs in Ohio are aging and the quality of fishing habitat is gradually declining. We try to help by making fish attractor reefs in the winter months. We typically use Christmas trees. These reefs offer a little help to the fish as well as the fishermen. We conduct these projects on most reservoirs in a 3 to 5 year rotation. Some park goers may have noticed the large piles of Christmas trees at the boat ramp. Well, I'm here to tell you they're gone. The Ohio Division of Wildlife just finished sinking 800 Christmas trees along with the help of Houston Wood staff in the lake to make large fishing reefs. Another unique fishing feature coming soon to CJ is an underwater lighted handicap fishing pier, similar to the one at Rocky Ford. The pier has been purchased and will hopefully be installed in the marina and open to the public for the summer 2021 fishing season. The green underwater light that comes on at night will draw in all types of fish. The actual fish attractor locations can be found on our Ohio Lake Map resource page, along with other popular high success shore fishing spots like the boat ramp, breakwall, and below the dam. This page also shows the many resources available to users like boat ramps, restrooms, and marina locations all across the state. Another great resource that was developed during 2020 was our new Hunt Fish OH mobile app. The fishing side of this app allows you to buy a license for you or anyone in your fishing group. The map feature will also help you find the fish attractors while you're out on the lake. And the app also has many other features like the current fishing regulations built in. A lot of the information that I presented today can be found on our new website. By going to the new fishing reports and forecast page, anglers can now see our stocking numbers for each lake and some of our species-specific sampling results from our surveys. We are currently expanding this website for other lakes in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin, and what a feat it was to get those 800 trees into the lake there. We really appreciate the partnership with the Division of Wildlife and the work that you guys do out here. Another division that we are very fortunate to work with is our Division of Natural Areas and Preserves. Very close by Buck Creek is going to be Gallagher Fen. To talk a little bit about this special area is our Preserve Manager, Eric.
Thanks, Catherine. Hi, my name's Eric Sagasser. I work for the OhioDNR Division of Natural Areas and Preserves. Have for about 6 years now. And Gallagher Fen is one of about 15 preserves that I have the privilege to assist in the management of in the Western District. So a little bit about our division for those who don't know. The Division of Natural Areas and Preserves is a sister agency to wildlife, state parks, forestry. We're all under the OhioDNR umbrella, but we're a separate division with a unique mission, which is to preserve Ohio's unique natural heritage by protecting our finest land and water resources for future generations. So you can kind of think of us a little bit like a living land museum. We provide a snapshot of what Ohio would have looked like before settlement. So we have really some of the best remaining examples of what you might have encountered in early Ohio. We have 138 preserves statewide. These range widely in habitat types. We have everything from wetlands to oak forests. Some preserves are established for geologic features, such as Clifton Gorge or Conkle's Hollow, which are two of our most popular. Our sites tend to be a little bit more primitive. This is in part because we try to have low impact on these gems. And our recreation opportunities are primarily centered around wildlife observation, hiking, attending interpretive programs, and things of that nature. So what you can expect at Gallagher Fen itself. Gallagher's one small remaining example of what would have been a much broader ecosystem in Ohio many years ago. It's really a wet prairie. We would have had quite, that's not something you would expect to see in Ohio generally, or most people don't. And we actually had fairly extensive wetland prairie complexes at one point in the state. Many are now have been developed or have gone into agriculture because the sites were suitable for that. But what happened was about 5,000 to 8,000 years ago, we had a warm, dry period in our climate called the hypsothermal period. And when this happened, that was kind of hostile to woody vegetation, which really allowed these prairies to pop up, expand from western U.S. over, and we had a small area in the state known as the Prairie Peninsula, and Gallagher Fen is one little remnant of that. So this fen, it's a type of peatland that is the main water input is from groundwater, so it's mineral rich, and because of this, we have a great diversity of plants here. And some that are really unique that won't be found in other habitat types. If you're interested in coming out to explore the Gallagher Fen, we have 1.2 miles of trails here. That's also, you know, there's actually two fen openings at the preserve, and this gives you the ability to actually enter one of the fens, and there's a boardwalk that traverses wet areas. Things that you might see, my recommendation would be trying to stop by during the summer months, as it's a really great summer wildflower display. You get those prairie plants really going off, and it's really something to see. There's world rosinweed, tall larkspur, purple coneflower, and these all put on quite a show during the summer months. So I'd invite you to come check it out, especially in, say, July. And you'll get an opportunity to see some of these interesting prairie species that you might not see elsewhere. In order to ensure that Ohioans in the future get to enjoy the preserve in the state that we find it today, one of the things that we spend most of our time doing is managing invasive species. So a little word on them. You may have heard about some of them. Many folks have heard about the emerald ash borer or were impacted by it at some point. An invasive species is one that comes from a different area that's not native to a given ecosystem or area, and it's expected to cause harm to either human health, the environment, or the economy. And so we have quite a few invasive plants that have been introduced into the state over time. And what generally happens with them is because they do not have competition and they don't have predators from their native range, they tend to start out competing our native plants and animals and taking over. And so over time, you'll get generally what we call a monoculture, where you'll find large areas of only this plant. And when that happens, we lose our native flowers, these great prairie species that you would otherwise see, and the animals that also depend on those. So there's very many techniques that we use to control these. If you've been to Gallagher recently, you would have actually seen that we performed a prescribed fire there that not only helps perpetuate the prairie, but is also assists us in controlling woody invasive species. Often this is done by very judicious herbicide applications, and again, various methods for different invasive species here, but it's all going towards ensuring that future visitors get to see the same prairie that we do today.
Thank you so much, Eric. We really appreciate that partnership and taking a little bit of time to talk about that beautiful preserve so close to Buck Creek. Another area very close to Buck Creek is our sister park, which is John Bryan State Park. To talk a little bit more about the different amenities and recreations that go on here is the Assistant Park Manager, Tony.
Hi, thank you, Catherine. My name's Tony Martin, and I'm one of the Assistant Park Managers. The general location of John Bryan is in Yellow Springs on State Route 370 in Greene County. John Bryan himself was a teacher, an entrepreneur, and a humanitarian. And he gave his farm to the state of Ohio in 1918 and asked that it be used as a forestry, botanical, and a wildlife reserve. In 1925, the land became one of the first state forest parks, and in 1949, it became the first state park for the newly created Division of Natural Resources, Parks and Recreation. On this map kind of covers some of the areas, things I'm going to be talking about. We're looking at 752 acres here. And if we go to, on the left side, there by State Route 343, the top star, that represents Clifton Gorge Nature Preserve. And then the one below, the big star, that would be Clifton Gorge itself. And then if we go down west, down to Little Miami, that would be the Day Lodge there. Yep, that's the Day Lodge. And then further down, that star would be our campground. And then across John Bryan Road on State Route 370, that would be our group camp area. Currently, John Bryan's campground has 62 sites. 17 of them are electric. All sites have a fire ring, picnic table. Pit latrines are throughout the park and in the campground as well. There's also a shelter house in the campground for our campers' use. Reservations for camping can be made 6 months in advance by calling the reservation center at 866-644-6727 or going online to reserveohio.com. The group camp at John Bryan, it's a beautiful area for organized groups to camp away from the main campground. A lot of church groups, scouts utilize that area. There's two sections that provide Randac style shelters. You'll have fire rings, charcoal grills, picnic tables, and the group camp offers potable water and a pit latrine restroom. Picnic shelters and picnic areas. John Bryan has plenty to offer. There's many picnic areas throughout the park with picnic tables, charcoal grills. And there's also another shelter house. Besides the shelter house in the campground, we have the lower shelter, which we can see here in this picture. The lower shelter, it can be rented during the summer season. And then we also have the day lodge. The day lodge is one of our most popular buildings, rentals that we have at John Bryan. As you can see, it has the huge banquet table, seating for 50 people. It has a fireplace at each end. It has a kitchen with a stove, refrigerator, microwave. Outside, it has a charcoal grill, several picnic tables, access to a volleyball court, and to several different trails. The mountain bike trail, easy access right there by the day lodge, as well as some of the other trails. Okay, so the observatory. John Bryan is home to the Miami Valley Astronomical Society, and in 1977, the Society was able to secure a lease with the state of Ohio. This was an abandoned Air Force satellite tracking facility in John Bryan. A group of astronomers, access is controlled by the Miami Valley Astronomical Society, which is a group of astronomers who of course love to look at the stars and they put on about 7 to 8 stargazing events every year for the public. And you can go to their website at mvas.org and find what dates they have programs there. Our trails at John Bryan, we have some really great trails, and we also have some really great neighbors at John Bryan. On one side, of course, is Clifton Gorge State Nature Preserve, and on the other is Glen Helen, which is one of the area's largest private nature preserves. All trails connect with one another throughout the park and the preserves. So altogether, you have more than 20 miles of different trail to explore when you visit. Our mountain bike trail is 14 miles. There's moderate to more challenging trails. Trails are maintained by the Friends of John Bryan, and without their help, we would struggle to keep them as nice as they are. You can check out their Facebook page as well for trails condition and modifications. John Bryan, it has a new boardwalk on the South Gorge Trail. We also have a storybook trail. The storybook trails bring books to life for children and families. The storybook trails are lined with pages from children's books to blend the fun of outdoor exploration with reading. These trails were launched in 2019 to promote the importance of literacy and a healthy lifestyle connecting with nature. And John Bryan was lucky enough to get one. So we're really happy to have the Storybook Trail. We were also very excited that the South Gorge Bridge has been repaired and is open. The bridge connects the South Gorge Trail to the Pittsburgh-Cincinnati Stagecoach Trail, and it also goes over the Little Miami River. As you can see, it's in the picture behind me. So that's the trail. So that is about all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tony, for that beautiful look at John Bryan State Park. You've mentioned a few times that we've got some friendly neighbors. Clifton Gorge State Nature Preserve, when you hike right past that bridge, that trail will lead you right to it. We've brought back our preserve manager, Eric, to tell us about this beautiful nature preserve.
Hello again. So Clifton Gorge, for many people, probably needs no introduction, but it is one of our top 2 visited state nature preserves. Between it and Conkle's Hollow, it has just really impressive, beautiful dolomite limestone cliffs that are really just breathtaking. Something you wouldn't expect to see in this part of Ohio, where there's, generally very gentle terrain, and all of a sudden you have these giant imposing cliffs. It's really something to check out if you're in the area. To explore the preserve, we have 3 miles of hiking trails available. And along the way, we have lots of historical stops to check out. I'm going to talk about a few of them. One of the first ones that you might hit would be the Nixon-Hager Strawboard Mill. You can actually see in the rocks in the river where there were notches carved for supports, and where the mill race used to exist for this paper mill, which this was operated from around the Civil War to the 1880s. It primarily manufactured wrapping paper for butchers. So what would happen was local farmers would basically bring wagons to the cliff edge, dump straw. The straw was then run through a device that mashed it into a pulp, and subsequently it was laid out very thin by rollers and then baked and became this butcher paper. So that was it's a pretty interesting site to check out. It actually eventually was closed down because of pollution to the river, which was kind of a early environmental movement in this area. It was interesting. Also in the gorge, we have the Patterson Mill. So this mill was founded by Robert Patterson, who actually, incidentally, he was the founder of both Lexington, Kentucky, and a co-founder of Cincinnati. The mill manufactured uniforms for the War of 1812. It was a wool and cotton mill. At one time, when it was in operation, you could have actually walked into one of the upper floors of the mill from the top of the gorge. So it's pretty neat. And again, here you can see old remnants of the mill. If you at the overlook, if you look over the gorge, again, there's squares cut out where timber supports were laid into the bedrock to support the mill. It stood until 1870, and the mill and the dam for the mill were both washed out during flood events. Another stop that we have on one of the trails is what we call the Blue Hole. This is just an area of the river where there's a particularly deep pool here, and between the depth of the water and algae, it takes on this brilliant blue hue if you view it from above. It must have been a popular destination. It's actually the subject of a painting that we have, or we have the replica of this painting hanging in the Clifton Gorge office, which was painted by Robert Duncanson, who was a really prominent African-American artist. He painted this in 1851, shortly before he went on to further his art education in Europe in 1853. And then we also have a local legend in part of the gorge on what we call the Narrows Trail. So the gorge widens as it progresses down, and so where it is narrower, we refer to it as the Narrows. Well, there's a stop there with some interpretive signage where we retell the story of Cornelius Darnell. So there's a local legend here that this young man, Cornelius Darnell, was part of a salt boiling expedition led by Daniel Boone. And Cornelius, while he was out executing some responsibility for the salt expedition, was captured by Shawnee in the area. as was Daniel Boone. And at some point, they were brought back to the principal village of Chillicothe, which would have been at Old Town, what is currently Old Town, Ohio, about 5 miles away from the gorge. And at some point, Cornelius was said to have been able to escape. And so he started running, and at some point encountered the gorge. And in order to evade being recaptured by the Shawnee, he's said to have actually leapt the gorge. And interestingly enough, one of the previous preserve managers was able to measure the narrowest point of the gorge. And it happened that when he had done so, it was about the same as the Olympic long jump record at that time. So the story, maybe not impossible, maybe not really all that plausible, but it's hard to tell. The legend has it that he didn't make it all the way across the gorge, but actually grabbed cedars growing out of the side of the cliff and was then able to scramble up. So it's interesting to contemplate at any rate. I would be remiss if I didn't discuss the floral significance of the Clifton Gorge. Because of our division, this is one of the principal reasons that it was dedicated as a state nature preserve, aside from the wonderful geologic features. If you get the opportunity to come to the gorge and you hike down onto the gorge trail, there's a noticeable difference in the temperature from the top of the gorge as you descend. And you'll really notice that it's much cooler, often shaded. It's kind of this real moist air from the river, right? And these conditions, because of the stark contrast from the top to the bottom there, have allowed some plants to persist there that you wouldn't normally find in this part of Ohio. And in fact, many of these plants that are remaining, we refer to them as glacial relics. So they actually would have started here when their seeds were carried by glacial meltwater from much farther north, like say Canada. And so when you're visiting us, you might see things like hemlock or Canada yew. We have other red bingberry, mountain maple, things that typically we wouldn't think of in this area of Ohio. And they're able to hang on here because this little microclimate created by the gorge. So I'd invite you to come out and explore the preserve. Again, we have 3 miles of hiking trails, and there's a little something here for everyone. You know, whether that's you enjoy the landscape scenery, the giant cliffs, and getting to take a walk along the scenic Little Miami River, or if you're into the plants. If you just want to get some fresh air, if you're a history buff and you want to check out some of the things that happened here at the preserve, there's a little something for everyone. So we hope you'll come out and visit us here. I also want to talk a little bit about how we are preserving the property for the future. And again, a big part of our responsibility in this division, we're trying to make sure as best we can that the plant and animal communities you find here are going to be able to stay here in a healthy condition for the future as well. And to that end, we have a lot of work to do on many of these properties, controlling invasive species, which we talked a little bit about earlier. So a few things that we have to tackle over at Clifton Gorge now would include stiltgrass, garlic mustard, bush honeysuckle, and these all have various methods of control. But much of our time is spent doing this to make sure that those rare and or endangered plants that we discussed earlier aren't impacted and are able to hold on for the future here. Also to make sure that the property stays healthy and to maintain a low impact on that, we've done quite a bit of trail maintenance and updates to some of the structures around the property, including the very popular amphitheater falls overlook, which is on the left, some repairs to bridges that are along the upper portion of the gorge trail. So to ensure that, you know, people have a comfortable experience here and that our trails stay nice, we spent some time making sure that those upgrades are there for you to enjoy. We also have a great nature center over at Clifton Gorge. There's lots to see in there. It's great for kids. If you have a young one that's interested, there's ambassador turtles in there, several different species, as well as many other displays. So please stop by and check us out. The Nature Center is open from April to October on the weekends. And finally, I think there's some resources and links here for you if you're interested in learning anything else about the Division of Natural Areas and Preserves, things that you can do to help us if you want to stay informed on invasive plant issues, if you want to know about native plants, plants that are good for your landscapes that won't become invasive. Anything like that, please check out our website or the other resources Catherine's put together on the slides here for you. Thank you very much.
And we thank you, Eric, for all the hard work that you guys do to help our preserves. And yes, I really hope folks check out those resources, and especially that nativeplantmonth.org, as April is coming up, and that is our Native Plant Month. And if you'd like to join us on a Wednesday webinar, Eric and I will be talking about those native plants. We do want to take the last few minutes to hit up some of our questions that have come in for us. And the first one is going to be for our fisheries biologist, Justin. Taking us back over to Buck Creek, someone asked why walleye thrive in that lake when they might not in some of the other ones in Ohio.
Yeah, so why are there walleye in CJ and not any of our other lakes? I guess I'll give you the long and the short. Ohio has pioneered in making saugeye, which is a hybrid fish between a male sauger from the Ohio River and a female walleye from Lake Erie. Those are hybrid fish that do really well in the state of Ohio, and we stock them pretty much everywhere in the Ohio River watershed. But the reason why we do walleye at CJ is for the name of the town closest to it, Springfield. A lot of people don't realize, you know, the name Springfield comes from the area with all the groundwater infusion. So back in the day when it was settled, there's a lot of groundwater. Walleye thrive in cooler water. CJ Brown stays a little bit cooler than our other lakes in the district, and that's why walleye do really well in there.
Thank you, Justin. I didn't even know that. Our next question is going to be for our preserve manager, Eric, and I think this could really cover both of the preserves you talked about and maybe some of the other properties. Just what is one of the most difficult invasives that you guys have to deal with?
So thanks for that question. That's actually, it's very difficult to choose which one's the most difficult. One that I'm very concerned about right now is Japanese stiltgrass. It is, the nature of these plants is often, they're extremely prolific. They often have great capabilities of producing large amounts of seeds. They tend to thrive in many different environments. So they're kind of generalist species that can make a living sort of anywhere. So just by their very nature, they're often very difficult to control. The Japanese stiltgrass I'm finding has been kind of a sneaky invasive, if you will. It has tremendous capability to hitchhike on hiking boots, with deer trails, and actually research is starting to demonstrate that birds may be moving it in their nesting material as well. So it's been able to pop up in areas that are kind of surprising. They don't seem to be a satellite population of a known infestation, if you will. And so for that reason, it's very difficult to ensure that, you know, we're getting every single little satellite population in the preserves. So that's one that's definitely of great concern to me, and that we're watching very closely right now in this district.
Thank you, Eric. And I think our final question to end us off here would be a perfect one for our park manager, John. John, someone asked if they are interested in volunteering, specifically for trails or anything like that. Are there opportunities within these two parks to help, and how would they go about doing that?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the question. We have plenty of volunteer opportunity. We have volunteers called camper hosts that actually stay in the park, and they put in a certain amount of hours in a week and they get to camp for free. We also have like what we call like trail volunteers that all they do is work on trails, or you could just be an individual volunteer. You could do anything from picking up to helping with our special events. All they have to do is stop here by the park office, or they can call here at the park office at 937-322-5284. We can send you everything you need over the internet, or we can mail it to you, and we'd be happy to have you.
Perfect. Thank you, John. And I hope some of our viewers out there will take advantage of that and help keep our parks as beautiful as they can be. I want to welcome back our district supervisor, Bryan Miller, to close us out today.
Wow, what a lot of information in such a short time. I want to thank our partners, Bryan with the Army Corps of Engineers, and Justin from the Division of Wildlife, and Eric from the Division of Natural Areas and Preserves for presenting. These guys have been on a lot of different ones of our videos, and I appreciate them for helping do this. And as well as thanking all of our park staff today for being a part of this. Hopefully you've all found it very educational, and you've got, you're wanting to come out and visit John Bryan or Clifton Gorge or Buck Creek here in the near future. With that, if you're wanting to camp, remember, just go out to reserveohio.com, or you can call 866-OHIO-PARKS to make a reservation. And we do take reservations for our camping 6 months in advance. So don't hesitate. It looks like we're going to have a very busy summer again, so don't hesitate making your reservations and miss out on getting a site. Well, that's going to wrap it up for us here today, but feel free to join us next Friday at 10 a.m. as we'll be visiting Grand Lake St. Mary's State Park to learn more about that park up to the north. With all that, I hope you all make some time to get out and enjoy one of your great Ohio State parks. Thank you.